So as I explained to you yesterday that okay, this 12 weeks program is something which I have designed by considering everyone as a freshers, or by considering everyone as a new into this cybersecurity, right? So not only about the VAPT guys, right? Because pen testing, if you're targeting the pen testing is one part of doing the security assessment um, when you are building a particular product. Okay, maybe someone who already knows, or working into the software, maybe let's say development side or testing side, they already knows that okay, we have something called software development lifecycle, which consists of close to 6 different phases, starting from requirement, design, development, testing, and deploy and maintenance. So testing comes here, right? I mean, after developing some application or some functionalities, uh, you know, we, I mean, that particular thing goes to the testing. And of course, we also do the security testing over here in the testing phase itself as a penetration tester, right? But I mean, it's not about only focusing on learning the penetration testing, right? Because nowadays companies are actually looking for people who can implement the security throughout the software development lifecycle, right? So we are also going to learn the product security related stuff, right? Yeah. So this was the yesterday's plan, right? What we have discussed. Okay. I told first I'll be covering networking, and then Linux essentials. I mean, this is like somewhere around 10 to 15 sessions initially. And then we'll be focusing on networking and ethical hacking, because before jumping into the application security, right, first of all, you have to know how, network related vulnerabilities, uh, will look like, and how this can be exploited. Because the very, very first thing hacker will try to break into the system using the network, right? Then, of course, nowadays network is like a bit secure, because of having all the various security devices in the place. Like we have firewalls, we have IDS, IPS, access control list, and etc. etc. Because of that, penetrating the network become very tough kind of a job, and not always you will get to know the exposed to network, right? And that's where we also need to focus on learning the web applications and web application pen testing and APIs, because that is something which is exposed to everyone. Like if you are developing some product, like an application, okay, of course that application is basically accessible to anyone in the internet. Okay, of course, like for users, your internet is to basically uh, develop that application for the users, right? uh, Hackers can also able to access that, and if they can able to find some flaws in it, okay, I mean, where that application is hosted, that application is again hosted in the server itself. So the application is kind of a way for attackers to compromise the server and the whole network. Okay, so that's the reason first we have to learn networking, okay, and the ethical hacking concepts, and then we will jump into the web and API, right? And when you are getting into this web and API, okay, as I told, only learning pen testing is one part, but additionally, I am also gonna cover the product security. Uh, I mean, in the product security, how can we integrate secure in the product? I mean, in the SDLC, in the software development lifecycle, how can we integrate the security in the each phase, right? So, see, when I say software development lifecycle, it's like the steps. from the beginning to end, right? So somebody will come to you and say that, okay, I have this idea and this is what my requirement is, and I wanted to create the product, right? So let's say I'm talking about, let's say your requirement is to build a house. Okay, you decide, I mean, you will be deciding, right? How many rooms you want and what the purpose of the house, what materials and budget is required, and etc. etc. Right? Similarly, we'll understand from the client, okay, what kind of a product that they are going to create, what functionalities are required. Right? I mean, stakeholders um, will be sharing all this information for us. Right? Here, we need to also take the security requirements, guys. Right? As a security person, if you're involved in this requirement phase, you also need to take the security requirements. So what sort of a security requirements, like, I mean, if you're comparing with that house example, right? Just like checking whether the neighborhood is safety, okay? Like you must identify security requirements like data protection, compliances, user privacy, okay, and also define the access controls needed, like who can enter the house and etc. etc. Right? So once the requirements are done, accordingly, the architect will start, designing. I mean, he designs the complete product, okay, and also the data flow and etc. etc. Like it's like a blueprint of the house, right? So architects are someone who chooses, what sort of a components are required, how the data should, flow from the user to server or database, right? So here also we need to perform some of the security things, right? So we have something called secure architecture review. Okay, I mean whatever, because whatever the components that they are trying to use, and also the kind of a data flow that they are already created, is it secure or not, right? Does it have or maybe impact any sort of a potential attacks later or now, right? So we also perform threat modeling. There is something called threat modeling. Okay, so we perform this threat modeling to identify the potential vulnerabilities in the early stage. It's like you went to the engineer and he created the complete architecture of the house, right? And we go and check, okay, what doors that they are going to use it. Is it secure or not? What windows that they are going to install? Is it secure? Are they using the secure material or not? Because let's say after constructing a house, okay, if you call someone like a security professional and security guy, and if you ask them to evaluate it, and if they identify, okay, there is no proper secure doors or windows, what will happen? Again, you have to do rework, patchwork. You have to do it, and that may not fit perfectly, and it's a overburden, right? Cost will increase, time will go. Okay, resources, of course, resources are also required for us, right? It's better to consider the security from the beginning itself, right? So we have something called threat modeling over here, right? So how to perform the threat modeling, what phases are there, what tools we have. Of course, I'll also be covering it, right? And then that goes to the, I mean, once this is done, okay, once you created the threat model, once you finalize the data flow and components, okay, the requirement, maybe with the help, I mean, someone, let's say POs will create epics and user stories to the developers, and developers will start working on writing the code, right? And while they're writing the code also, okay, you have to ensure that they are meeting the quality criteria, right? I mean, if there is any vulnerabilities in the code level itself, right, those can be again exploited. So we tell the developers to use all the security best practices to write the code in a secure way, so that the issues will not be going to the next phase, right? If you write the code in a secure way, of course, the product will be secure, right? We will tell them to use the write libraries, write frameworks. We will give them all the security coding best practices to develop the product, by following the uh, code quality and without any vulnerabilities. Right here we have something called as a SAST, SAST, okay, which is static analysis security testing. It's basically a performing a code scan, right? There are a lot of tools like we have check marks, we have Sonar Cube. So what happens is we use these tools to perform the scan on the code base, or these tools can be also directly integrated to the CI/CD, okay, with certain rules. So automatically, if the rule is not matching, if the criteria is not matching, it will get failed, right? Again, developer have to modify and improve the code quality, and then he need to push that code, right? And once it is developed, and once it is moved to some low-level environments like UAT or QA environment, that comes to you, okay, for testing, right? After developing, let's say, some functionality, they'll ask you to perform a penetration testing on it, right? It's like after installing a doors and a Windows, you have to go and use your techniques to evaluate them. Okay, is it secure or not? Okay, are they, when someone is trying to break them, okay, in a awkward times, are they getting alerts or not? I mean, I'm just giving you some examples over here, right? So as a pen tester, your work is actually here in the testing phase, which means after developing an application, once it is hosted in some environment, okay, we use various types of security tools and test cases to evaluate each component of the application, right? That is testing. Of course, after testing also, we need to also, I mean, it again completely depends depending on our scope. Right? Sometimes after testing, we hand over that product to the product owner. They do deployment and maintenance kind of a work. Okay, or else that can be also like, what is our deployment maintenance? When once you're deploy, I mean, once you're going to deploy something, you need to take care there is no misconfigurations in it, right? And maintenance, you have to regularly, work on performing the vulnerability assessments and patching, okay, to eliminate the outdated softwares and etc. etc. And monitoring also comes into the uh, maintenance part, just to see if somebody is attacking. Okay, what is the regular traffic? I mean, how the regular traffic will look like, right? So what I am concluding over here is, it's not only about learning pen testing. Okay, I am also gonna help you to understand, okay, how to integrate security into the software development lifecycle, right? Because every organization nowadays following shift left. I'm not sure how many of you are aware of it. There is something called shift left. Okay, so right, what is mean by shift left is integrating security from the initial state rather than after deploying it or after developing it. Right, after constructing a house, if you go for a security evaluation and if you find some issues, it costs you a lot, right? But if you can able to identify those gaps in the design phase itself, you will save a lot of money and time, right? That is the beauty of integrating security into software development lifecycle, right? So this is like very high level, right? Um, yeah. So you have a good quotation also, right? Building a software without security is like building a house without locks. It may look beautiful, but it's never safe to live in, right? If you're not following security best practices and if you're simply developing an application and putting into the internet, okay, it may work fine, but when the hacker try to, when the hacker finds some vulnerability, I mean, it's very easy to find some vulnerabilities and break it, right? And these are all some of the security things that we focus on each phase. Okay, maybe if someone wants to take screenshot, that's fine. You can take it from here, or I can also give you this, right? In the security requirement phase, what we do, we take security requirements and security needs and etc., access controls. We understand the different users in the application and we define it. And in the design phase, we do architecture review and threat modeling. In the development phase, we tell them to follow the secure code practices, and we also perform the code scans, right, to identify the issues in the code. And in testing phase, we perform pen testing, or we also call it as a DAST, dynamic application security testing. Just like once it is hosted somewhere in the environment, we go and perform the scans on it. It's like performing a vulnerability scan on the application, right? And then you have the deployment and maintenance, right? Hardening, removing misconfigurations, and patching, monitoring, okay, security alerts, and updating regularly. Okay, so all these things basically comes into the maintenance and deployment phase. Right? Hope it has given you a complete picture of what is the SDLC and how securities basically can be integrated into the SDLC, right? So, yeah, because if you see the latest OASP top 10 also, what is OASP top 10? OASP top 10 is the methodology that we use it. Okay, I mean, every company use it to perform the security assessments, right? So if you see the latest OASP top 10 methodology, which is released in 2025, okay, it is not only focused on pen testing, right? You have insecure design, the sixth category. Okay, what we do in the design phase, we actually do threat modeling. So I'm also going to teach you how to perform the threat modeling over here, right? And what we have, let's say, security logging and alerting failures, right? This is something which is implemented over here. Okay, like monitoring, right? Logs needs to be collected. Okay, those needs to be integrated, kind of a thing. And you have a supply chain related attacks. To prevent the supply chain related attacks, you have to perform something called SCA. Okay, I forgot to mention that. It's a SCA, software composition analysis. Okay, I mean, it might, I mean, these all terms might be feeling very new to you, but from now onwards, you will be able to hear, I mean, you will be able to see and hear and do it. Okay, it's very easy because as a part of the development, we cannot develop everything from the scratch. Let's say you're constructing a house. Do you really go and create your own bricks to construct your house, or own cement, own steel? No, right? If you go and choose different vendors and you know, use it. But how can you decide which vendor to go with? Whichever you feel safe, which gives maybe more reliable kind of a thing, you will go with it, right? So here also, when you're developing an application, we cannot develop everything from the scratch. Okay, developers will use a lot of third-party components, libraries, and frameworks, right? So if there is any vulnerabilities in those components, it can also affect the whole product. So to identify the vulnerabilities in the components of the products what they are using, okay, we perform SCA scans. That is here. Okay, that is to eliminate the supply chain related failure attacks. Okay, yeah, I think I have given you very high level, and many people might be feeling that what is it? I am hearing new. Okay, um, maybe some of you might not be able to catch it, all these terminologies. Okay, that's fine, but I'm just explaining the context of what you will get it. Okay, when you attend this training, right? Hope this is clear. If someone has any questions, let me know. I'll answer it. After this, I'll show you few practical demos. Yeah. Yeah. No questions? Okay. How many of you know what is software development lifecycle? Have you heard about it early? How many of you have heard about it early? Just raise your hands.
Excuse me, can I ask?
Yeah, please.
Yes, can you please re-ask the question you previously asked,
No,
please?
I just wanted to know how many of you already knows what is software development lifecycle.
No, I haven't heard about it before.
Okay. Okay, only hardly few people knows about it, right? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, that's fine. Anyway, I have given you the high level information to you, right? Um, yeah, we'll take a deep dive into it once we start the actual sessions, right? Okay, so this is one part. Uh, Now let me show you some demo, right? So what demo you want to see? Do you want me to log in into some applications without giving the credentials? Hmm?
Okay.
Is it possible? Yeah, guys. Is it
We should be
possible to?
having some credentials, but I think no man we are going to crack it or no idea on that.
Okay, fine. Okay, I'll just give you, let's say we have some application. Okay, this is like online banking kind of an application over here, what you are seeing. So we have a sign in page, right? It says online banking login. And let's say I want to log in into this application. Let me give the credentials like, let's say Deepa and password. Okay, let's see Deepa. Do you think I'll be able to log in into it?
I don't think so. Everyone should be have some of the login credentials.
Right. So when I'm trying to log in here, it says login failed, right? It says login failed. But maybe let's say if I'm giving like this, Deepa single quote R1 equal to 1 hyphen space, and I'm some password. I'm not even looking what is the password. Now, do you think I'll be able to log in? Oh,
Yeah, it happened.
what happened? How it is allowed me to log in without a proper credentials, and how can I basically land it up into the admin?
Is that because of the strings which you gave in the username?
Yeah, exactly. But what is happened in the backend is something which we need to know.
Like the
skill used.
Yeah, someone
Yeah,
just
skill
told.
related.
Yeah, yeah. It's a SQL issue, right?
Yeah, that's a
See,
coding thing.
it's not coding thing. Let's understand the logic, or let's understand what happens when you submit your username and password in um, any authenticated page, right? See, uh, okay, just a minute. I reset this. I want to reduce the size. So let me do this. Okay, I'll just give you some background about it. Just a minute. Yeah, meanwhile, if someone wants to uh, explain, yeah, you can also do that. Anyone from maybe a skill background, they might be knowing it. So it's basically happened because of a vulnerability called as an SQL injection, right? So usually what happens is when you enter your credentials, I mean, first of all, you will register yourself into some application, right? You will register yourself into some application. So this, when you're registering yourself into some application with username and password, this username and password gets stored into where?
The database.
Exactly. It gets stored into the database, right? And if you look into uh, the current architecture, or maybe, like if you look into, okay, this is your application where it's asking for username and password, right? And this is communicating, or this application you have access in your browser from the server, right? And there will be some database, okay, which is connected to this server in the backend, right? And this is not exposed to anyone, right? So this is a server, this is a
Yes.
web server, right? This is a web server, and this is a client, which means your browser. So now client access the page, and he wanted to maybe access some authenticated resources, and it's asking for username and password to prove who they are. So it takes the username and password from here, right? And it checks in the backend in the database whether that user is present or not. Correct? Which means database only understand what? Queries, right? Database understand only the SQL queries, which means your injected data. I mean, you are inserted a username and password goes to the server, okay, and server sends that to the database to see whether the user is present or not, right? Which means what happening? Your entered data is directly getting into the query. Understand? Your entered data is directly getting into the query. And that query will look like this. Okay, in the backend, a SQL query will look like this. It's like your username and password will be here, whatever you are entering. Okay, and this will be processed with the database. And what I have done, I have modified that like this by just giving some random name and R1 equal to 1 hyphen hyphen, right? And directly it allowed me to log in into the application without even, I mean, not, I don't even have the account in it, But I was able to directly bypass the authentication. And this has happened because I'll tell you. See, actually, as per this particular statement or this particular query, it should check whether the username and password is present in the database or not. If it is present, it should give a true message. Okay. So that it allows us to log in. But what I have done, I got to know that my injected data is directly going to the queries without proper security. Then I have added like this Deepa, and I have closed the single quote. Okay, I have closed the single quote over here because there is already a single quote. And if Deepa is not existed, I am writing another query. R 1 equal to 1. 1 equal to 1 is always true. So I am only generating a true statement. And what about password? I am commenting out the rest of the query by giving hyphen hyphen place. Because of that, whatever the password that you are giving, it is not gonna check. Right? So I am myself is generating a true message by simply adding this R1 equal to 1 hyphen hyphen statement. And this is successfully happened because of there is no proper input validations or uh, you know they are just trusting the user input, right? When the developer is designed this input username and password, but like us hackers, okay, who has some sort of a malicious intent, they always check, right, whether the data is directly getting executed as a part of the query, or are they doing some sort of a security checks and later it is going to the query. If there is no checks and all, of course, right, they can use this small SQL statement, and now you can see they'll be able to log in. Got it? Of course, it's a very big topic, okay? But as we are covering some demos, right? So the whole thing here, right? Whenever you're expecting some input from the user, you should not directly, allow that to be executed as a part of the query. You should do checks. Okay, there is something called parameterized queries. I mean, whatever the input that is coming, okay, into the query, they should not directly execute it, right? They should consider that as a string. Okay, even if somebody is writing this hyphen, 1 equal to 1 hyphen hyphen, they should treat that as a username. Okay, they should not execute it as a part of the query. Okay, because of that, they are executing directly. This is something which is possible. Attackers can exploit it. Clear? Yeah. Any questions?
Sai, I have one question.
Yeah.
Like, what if, you said in the database server that query is written, so it is coming it as a query. So what if they have added, the developer has added, or 1 equal to 1 will never be a username or a password, will be able to log in again?
I completely got you. I completely didn't got your question.
Like,
Uh,
my question is, I'll
mm,
repeat once again.
yeah.
See, we added a string, correct?
Mm,
Even we don't have the username and the password, we were able to log in into that page,
correct.
correct? So, my question is, it is because of the developer who has written that, and it is taking that username and the password as a query,
No, it's going into the
correct?
query.
Yeah, okay, it's going into the query. What if
Mm.
a developer is added, like these strings should not be considered as a username? will be able to do it again, will be able to crack it.
Yeah, I'll tell you. I got it, what you're telling, right? See, we have these queries. See, basically, when you want to talk to the database and find whether that username is present or not, and this is not exposed to anyone, okay, in the internet. Only the server can able to talk with this database. This is completely a private network kind of a thing. Okay. So to talk to this database to find out whether this username is present or not, okay, you can only able to talk to the database using the queries, SQL queries, because it will not understand anything, right? Rather than SQL queries. Correct. So what developers are doing, okay, they are writing the queries like this. Okay, they are taking the username and password from the user, okay, and the server is executing that query into the database. Correct. This is what it is happening. But if in case if somebody is putting a malicious input like this, right, it should not directly execute as a part of the query. Okay, it should not directly see this. I'm writing a R statement. Tomorrow someone can also write some union statement or IN statement. Okay, to modify the data in the database. Right, which means you are allowing the users to write any sort of a query from the application itself, right? And that is happening because you are trusting everything, okay, which is coming from the user end, and you are directly executing as a part of the query. There is no security, right? They should implement the security over here to make sure that, okay, they are not, they are considering everything, what is being injected into the application as a untrusted data, and they need to use some of the security practices like parameterized statements. What is mean by parameterized statements is even if you write some malicious content, that will treat that as a string rather than it is directly getting executed as a part of the query. Okay. Even if you write, single quote R1 equal to 1, it will not execute it because of the execution only. You were able to bypass the authentication, right? So when they implement this parameterized queries, it will treat everything as a username rather than getting executed. That's how we can prevent such type of issues.
Okay, so
Okay.
in this case, there is no parameterized
Exactly.
query.
Exactly. Right?
That's the reason we are able to log in.
Yeah, that's the reason you are able to directly write any sort of a query, okay, in the username parameter, and that is working. And that is allowing you to log in directly without having credentials, valid credentials. Okay, not only this, hackers can do lot more other bad stuff. Okay, they can modify. Okay, yeah, they can steal all the data. They can manipulate the database. They can do authentication bypass, like what I've shown you. They can also even take the complete takeover of the database. Okay, just because of not having what prepared statements or parameterized statements. When you use this prepared statements, what happens is, okay, use parameterized queries to safely include user input in SQL queries. Okay, this is missing, and there is no input validation also, right? Even if I'm entering some malicious characters, it is accepting rather than rejecting. Yep. I think we'll discuss more detailed way when we are going to cover this SQL injection topic with lot of labs, right? As this is just a demo, I thought of covering in a high level. I hope, of course, it has given you the clear understanding of what is it, okay, and how it happened. Any questions you have here?
No, it's cleared.
Okay, what about others?
Excuse me.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. I may have many questions. But I mean, I'll just be following and then maybe getting back to the register course to try to understand more what you have explained.
Okay. That's fine. Yeah. Okay. That's cool, right? Okay, let me also give you another example or another demo. What do you want to see here? Next one. Okay, I think this is one related to application. So, of course, I haven't prepared anything like that. I just, maybe randomly choosing the topics. Even if someone knows something or wanted to see something, just let me know. We can immediately jump into it. Okay, maybe let's see some networking related tags. Right. Okay, do you want to see how the real vulnerabilities are exploited to compromise the system? You want to see system compromise? Okay, let me show you that. So I'm starting two machines now. One is Win7, and I have another one which is Kali Linux, which is my attacker system, right? So this Win7, as you know, we are not using it, correct? Anyone know what is the reason that we are not using? Hmm? And what is the risk if in case if somebody is using old legacy? Yeah. Manju has it.
Security updates.
Your voice is breaking.
Sorry, I'm in metro. They just said security updates.
Got it. You're in metro. You're traveling to house. Okay. So I'm saying that right now you're not using this old legacy operating system, right? Because the Microsoft has stopped uh, giving any support to these operating systems. I think you are already aware of it, correct? So if you see like maybe the old versions of kind of operating systems using somewhere, they might be using on their own risk, because if there is any security flaws and security vulnerabilities in it, Microsoft is no longer giving any sort of updates to it, right? So I'm going to show you if somebody is using this legacy old operating systems, and with some vulnerabilities, how those vulnerabilities can actually be exploited, right? In my case, I have this Win7. Let me just go and find the IP address of it. So this is my IP, local IP 10.223.233.3. And so I'm going to show you now how this system can be compromised by simply exploiting certain remote code execution vulnerabilities. When I say remote code execution vulnerabilities, remotely you are able to run certain commands on the victim operating system, okay, by just taking the advantage of the flaws. Okay, I mean the RC flaw. So this is my Kali, and I'm opening terminal. So most of the things, right? We use terminal itself. So here we are going to use bash commands. I'll teach you all the basic bash. You'll be able to learn it in 1 or 2 days. That's it. It's very easy. Okay, let me first ping the target system, okay? Just to see if I was able to reach it or not. So 223.233.3. Okay, you can see I can able to ping that system, which is it is reachable, right? If it is not reachable, you cannot perform any hacking, right? So first you need to see whether it is reachable or not, whether it is live or not. Okay, it's reachable. Now I am using a tool called Nmap to perform this scan on the target operating system just to see how many open ports are there. IP address is like a house. Ports are like the doors and windows of the house. So I'm just checking how many ports are open in the Windows 7. Okay. So when I say these ports, it's like entry points for hackers. The more ports open, the more services are running. There might be a chance that there might be some issues. Okay. So in Windows 7, a lot of ports are open defaultly. I'm going to exploit one of the port called as a 445, which is SMB. We call it as SMB. I know that this Windows 7 has a SMB flaw in the version 1. Uh, so why do we use SMB is basically to do internal file sharing. Okay. Uh, I mean, you might be asking, Sai, we might be not knowing it. How can we uh, identify that? There are a lot of tools, techniques. Maybe once you start getting into it, you can also able to figure out that. Even if you perform some vulnerability scans on this particular port, you can easily find it gives all the issues in it. Okay. Maybe like I can perform a specific scan or aggressive scan on the port number 443. Sorry, it's a 445. Okay, when you do aggressive scan, it also tells you, like it will give you more information about that port, even like the version, even vulnerabilities and etc. etc. It enumerates more information of it. Only that particular port. Okay? It also telling it's a Windows operating system. We also got to know the target name. You can see it's also telling me what exactly the operating system that they are using it. Not only Windows 7, it's telling you Windows 7 Ultimate 7600 kind of thing, right? And you have a lot more other details also. So if I take these details and if I just Google it, right, it's like information gathering. Okay, you can see it says there are a lot of issues in it. Okay, there's a lot of issues in it. Even certain exploits are also available, right? Or there are certain databases, okay, vulnerability databases. So if I'm just typing, you can see there is one remote Windows kernel pull corruption on the same version. These are all technical details, but this can be simply exploited by using a tool called Metasploit by just running this exploit on the target by setting up the IP address of the target. I mean, there is already issue and there is already exploit available. It just we need to go and run that exploit on the target to see if we can able to compromise it. So for the exploitation, I'm using a tool called MSF console. Okay. So MSF console is one of the famous Metasploit framework console. I'm just going to use this framework to load this exploit, and I'm going to run this on the Windows 7 target and let me see if I can able to compromise that system or no. This is a Metasploit framework which is already loaded. Okay. So everything will cover, okay? But as a part of a demo, just to make you understand how practical sessions will look like further, I'm explaining, bit fast, right? But yeah. Okay, let's say here I'm into the MSF, right? So if you see here, I just need to choose this particular exploit called as an eternal blue. I am pasting it over here. It got loaded, and just type show options. Okay, I need to give the target IP here. So I know what is my target IP. It's like set our host 10.223.233.3, and port is already 445. It's predefined, and the required parameters also it says true. Just go and type exploit. Okay, you can see the exploitation is happening. It seems to be vulnerable. If the exploitation is happening successfully, we'll be able to have the access to the target system. It creates a one session between my system to Windows 7, and you can see Win. I have one session open between the my system to target. I have something called metapreter session. If I type sysinfo, you can see I'm in Windows 7 right now. You can also take the shell. See, I have the system32 shell. This means I am already in Windows operating system now. Okay, if you want to see some files in Windows, you can see here. Let's say if you want to see users, okay, cd users. See, there is Sai user in it. Okay, let's get into Sai user. And let's get into, let's say, desktop. What all files are present in desktop? A few files are present. Do we have these files in the desktop of Windows? See here, 3 files. Because the 3 files are present here. Do you want to delete it?
But to do this, we have to get that IP of that target.
Not only IP,
Just
okay, there should be some vulnerabilities in it, right? Right now, I'm just showing one specific vulnerability. You can see I have deleted one file, it's gone. I'm just showing you if somebody is using, let's say, legacy operating system which has some vulnerabilities in it, how hackers can simply exploit those vulnerabilities to take the full control of the machine, right? As a security person, what is the takeaway for you here is when somebody is using a legacy operating system, tell them, boss, this is not good to use. Go with the latest one where we have a latest security patches are installed from the vendor, right? And don't use legacy operating systems, right? And don't expose unnecessary ports to the users, and make sure you have all the security things configured properly in your operating system, right? Right?
yes, sir.
Yeah. Let's say I want to create something, okay? Let's say make directory test. See, from the attacker system, I was able to create one directory over here. I mean, they don't do all these unnecessary things to feel suspicious themselves, right? They'll simply hide themselves by creating some backdoor or some kind of a persistent access to the system. And they closely monitor the victim. And once the right time comes, they exploit it, right? Yeah, I mean, this is another demo. I mean, so likewise, you will have all the practical topics covered once we start these sessions, it all start from very scratch. Okay, as I just now explained to you, we'll start first with the networking, then Linux, okay, then again, so on, like, okay, um, ethical hacking, web application pen testing, and etc. So, any questions here? This is what I have planned for the today. Let me know if you have any questions.
Excuse me, sir. Just a quick question. Hello?
Sorry, Patrick. Yeah, just go ahead.
Yes, I wanted to ask if this class is going to be recorded so that we can have access to it after.
Yes. Yeah, you will have, I think, 1 year access to all these recordings. Okay.
Okay.
Every day you will get the notification once the recordings are uploaded into the drive.
Okay. Do you please have my email address?
Yeah, you can share the email address with the coordinator. Like, or else Sarita is the coordinator. She's already here, I think. She will give you. Yeah,
Or
you
maybe
can
the
just leave.
WhatsApp?
Yeah. She will give you her WhatsApp number. Okay.
Okay.
Let me ask. You can ping her, or you can leave your number. Okay, they'll get back to you.
Okay. Can I leave it here in the chat?
Or you give one to me. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Okay, I do it.
So we have also created a WhatsApp group for the people who are already enrolled here. Okay. If in case if you have also enrolled, they'll definitely add you in that group.
Okay.
Sai, I have one more question. Like we saw that there are multiple ports in the open state in Windows 7 when we tried to check it, no? So we did it for 445. Like for the rest of the port also, any of the port we can do it, correct?
No, it's not like that. Right? That's the reason I compared this with the windows and doors of the house. Right? If you will have these ports open, but if any port has some vulnerabilities in it, we can find and exploit it. It's not like every port is vulnerable, which is open. These ports are like entry points. Without having these ports open, you cannot communicate. Okay? But any port which they are keeping it open for the communication, and if that has some issues, right, that's where the problem is.
Would be able to identify whether it is like vulnerable or not.
Yes. That's what the vulnerability assessor job, right? They perform continuous scans on the all the organization assets, and they make sure there is no vulnerabilities. If there is any issues, they'll ask the team to patch it immediately. What does a vulnerability assessor do? We covered yesterday.
They'll scan the organization assets
Exactly, right? So when they
continuously.
are scanning it, if they find certain issues on some port, they'll definitely raise the concern, right? And they have to fix it immediately.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all about connecting all your dots now. I mean, it might be too early to say this, but over the period of time, it's all about. I mean, your thinking and your approach should be in the same way, so that you will be able to correlate everything.
Okay.
Yeah. Uh, any other question? I think someone has raised their hand. So is this? Okay, I got your number. I am also leaving the number over here. And this is a WhatsApp number. You can coordinate with Satya or Harsha. Okay? Yeah, they can give you the more information about it, and they are the people who are taking the enrollments as well. Yeah. I guess any questions?
No.
Okay. Yeah, today I was like bit fast when it comes to the second demo, okay, because of the time constraints, right? But yeah, our sessions will go very smoothly once we get started. Okay? First few sessions, I can say like maybe first 10 sessions or 15 sessions, we'll be just, you know, with basics only we'll be discussing. Okay, just wanted to make sure that you guys are coming into the comfortable zone. Right after that, we'll slowly, gradually increase the pace and we'll complete all these things. Okay. Yep. If no other questions, I think I'm good from my side. And yeah, that's all, guys. I think let's connect again tomorrow for another last demo. So that is the demo 3 for tomorrow. Let's see, what we can discuss. Right, and from Monday onwards, we'll be starting the actual sessions, guys. Okay, fine. Bye.
Thank you, Sai.
Yeah.
Okay, bye-bye.
If someone has any questions, you can stay here. I mean, ask, or else that's fine. Yeah, we can close it for the day.